Welcome to the Eric Brady podcast, Series 1, Adolf Hitler, His Bombers and Me. Episode 29, Constant Reminders. Eric, how did your injuries from the school bombing affect you as an adult and until today?
Among the decisions of the doctors that were taken was that my caliper could be taken off, that I didn't need to wear that anymore, and that I just needed that shoe blocked up. Then after many more years, having sent in my left new shoe each time to be blocked up, I found that in fact that was causing me more problems. At the time I was doing a lot of gardening and wore just ordinary Wellingtons, and found in fact that that was more comfortable with my left ankle than the blocked up shoe. So I wrote to the people who did the shoe, asking them to correct that. I got a letter eventually saying that that was the decision of the doctors, and they would arrange another meeting. That was decades ago, and I haven't heard anything since. So I'm still wearing ordinary shoes. Soon after I was injured and started walking about normally, even with my built-up shoes, I found that my left ankle would swell up as I walked any distance at all, and other bones would show as my left ankle became more rigid. It was as though I got multiple ankles going down my foot. Then when I went to bed and rested it overnight, those would vanish, but would reappear when I walked any length of distance again. I've no idea why that happened or how over the years that's gradually ceased. In due time, when I was approaching 18, I needed to register for national service, which was current at the time. At that time, it was for 2 years. So I went along as called, went into this quite large hall where there were probably about another dozen young fellas waiting. And first of all, we had to go to one table and were given a preliminary questionnaire about background and so on, health, etc. Then I went in for my physical, stripped to the waist, and the doctor gave me a check over. Wanted to know why my left arm was so withered in comparison to the right, and I explained about the bombing and the injury. And then he asked me to walk up and down on the spot, and he spotted that my left ankle was dodgy, and so he had me take off my shoe and sock and gave that a thorough examination. Asked about that, so I gave him details about that, the multiple fractures I'd had from the lump of masonry falling on it. Then I went for the intelligence test and then went back to wait. My name was called out, and so I stood up and started going to the stairs to go up to see the colonel to be told what was going to happen to me. And I was called over. The fella, when I sat down, leant across the table and said to me, "I'm really ever so sorry, but we can't accept you." I said, "Well, I didn't think I'd be much good with a semi-paralysed left arm and damaged ankle, so I'm not much good for marching. But on the other hand, I can do an office job. So why not put me in the Royal Artillery and I can work in the office?" But he wouldn't have it. He said, "No, everyone has got to be a proper serving soldier. So we just have to reject you." And I was actually quite disappointed because I quite looked forward to going and seeing what would happen, but I was disallowed. From time to time, I had to go to see Ministry of Pensions doctors as well, while they assessed me for rate of disability, and therefore the rate of disability pension I qualified for as a civil injury, wartime injury. And the last time I had one of these, which was many years ago now, decades, they classified me as 60% disabled, which actually stood me in good stead at that time, because immediately after the war, firms that employed more than a certain number of people were required to have a percentage classified as disabled. So being 60% disabled, I was given a green card, and I had to show that to every prospective employer. And as usually I could do the jobs that I was required to do, that was to their advantage as well as mine, because they could count me as one of the disabled, though I was able to do the job they wanted me to do.
Were there any other long-term effects?
When I returned from hospital, I was required to go to another hospital 3 times a week, which the school had to accept. So I would go off Monday, Wednesday and Friday afternoons for this treatment. I don't think it did my left arm any good, and it certainly did my education no good at all. But one of the treatments was to kneel by a bed in one of the treatment cubicles and have ultraviolet light shone on my back between my shoulders, with the idea that that would do something or other to stimulate the nerves. I had to wear special glasses while I was having that treatment for 20 minutes at a time. Many years later, I developed a skin cancer. It was not melanoma, it was a benign cancer in exactly the same spot. And I queried with the specialist who gave me treatment for that, if that could possibly have been the result of that ultraviolet treatment. But he hurriedly said he couldn't say that at all, even though from what I'd read, the ultraviolet in sunlight is what can cause skin cancer. But the treatment that I had was successful for the skin cancer, so I've got no problem now. But I do wonder if that was one of the long-term effects of that treatment.
To buy your copy of Adolf Hitler, His Bombers and Me to read alongside the series, go to ericbradybooks.co.uk. The Eric Brady podcast can be found on YouTube, podcast services and at ericbrady.blogspot.com.